Hey guys, Andy again, spoken label back in the house. Sunday evening. Yes, we've had an interesting day today, weather-wise. It's cool. It's got a bit warmer now, but we had a massive thunderstorm for a good 2 hours this afternoon. So it was great. When I was on my computer and something else, all I could hear was the windows just rattling with the thunder and stuff. So it was not fun. So, but anyway, we're over to another part of the world today with a gentleman, a good friend of mine actually, last couple of months as well. Thanks to obviously David Leo, my mutual friend, because I met this gentleman today through David earlier in the year, and we've been trying to get sorted out of a podcast in the parish for a couple of months now. We're over to Colorado to go meet a wonderful gentleman called Ray Whittaker. How are you going today, mate?
Doing great. Doing great. Happy to be here.
Pleasure, Anne as well. But people wondering me, we talked about this. Was it May, June, or something? Was it? I know it's just trying to get dates to suit the pair of us to get you on here, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's been I've been looking forward to it most of that time actually.
Me too as well, mate. Me too as well, because it's to be our first real conversation. I've seen David on, obviously, I said David, Ray on David's thing a couple of times now. We had some great emails also. Been looking forward to this. So, now, obviously, first of all, before we get going then, Ray, you better introduce yourself to everybody. Tell us about yourself as a person, first of all, then.
Um I am an American. I am 71 years old and I've been writing for a very long time. I am retired from healthcare. I was a respiratory therapist in a major teaching hospital for 34 years.
Oh, wow.
And I wrote all during that time. I would come home and write something. And when I retired, I decided that I was going to follow this very closely and become very much more active with it. And I went back through all the writings that I had done over many years and realized that the stuff that I wrote when I was 17 was never going to be seen by the public. And the stuff, and I waded through all the other writings. I have concentrated on poems all these years. So
Wow.
I've gotten very busy with it, and most of the work that I'll be presenting tonight will be more recent, far more recent, within the last year or two. And yeah, I lived in England when as a youth, and I've lived quite a bit overseas in Germany and Turkey and Libya and at one point I really considered myself to be a citizen of the world, but I think now that I'm older, I'm more of an American than I ever was.
Yeah, no, okay. I understand you completely. Brilliant stuff. Now, just to clarify for people, you're writing, you've told us a little bit already. I knew this already. You started your writing, didn't you, when you were 17 or so? I know I told you before I
Yes.
started, I was a bit younger than that, but I got serious when I was about 28. And have you been almost a bit surprised yourself looking back? Your writing's always just carried on, hasn't it, when you get to that stage?
I am. I have been. The primary thing I've noticed about my older writing is that it was what is what is these days called therapeutic writing. You know, it was about very personal experiences, unrequited love, anger about this and that, or feeling really happy about this other. And what I've been concentrating on now is what I consider to be less therapeutic and more real poetry.
Yeah, I
Taking
agree.
taking.
Brilliant. I like your philosophy and that you do is I think sometimes when you get going in writing, certainly like I know my teenage poetry, it was very, should we say, what's the best way of putting this? It's as it is what it was, if that makes sense, doesn't it? Standard teenage angst there, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
Now,
good word, angst. There you go. Yeah.
yeah, you find like obviously you start it, you say teens are like it was teenage angst. Now in my case, it's middle-age angst, and yours is a slightly bit older than that, angst as well. So we're still angry, just older. So, so
Well,
now you
when
told
I,
me,
when I decided to take this on seriously, what I wanted, I had a deliberate goal, and I wrote into that deliberate goal. And the deliberate goal is to be looking at the poetic images that everybody has in their minds on a global way, a multicultural way, And so that's been the significant influence in what I'm writing, and that's why you'll see a lot of work that addresses the human experience in a big, profound way.
Brilliantly put. No, I agree with you. What I know your work rate, I completely agree with everything you say in that one, mate. Now, the thing I didn't know before was, and he told me this when we were about to start recording before was, yeah, I know you've got a bachelor's degree in music as well, haven't you? So, and obviously, I know you've been performing the band, but we'll come on to that later. I think it's best to save that a bit. So, do you think, looking back at it, when you did your bachelor's degree in music, this helped you with your creative writing direction eventually?
Well, more in performance
Yeah.
than the writing part. Um, the I was a trombonist and a pretty
Oh.
good one at one point, and I learned a lot about performance at the conservatory.
Hmm.
So those practices have carried forward when I'm out speaking, um, when I'm either at a live open mic, or I've been asked to read at an event, or the spoken word sort of thing with the Zoom platform. Um, I'm certain that all of those performance practices carry forward, and I take the time to learn the nuance that's needed to make a performance work well. It's called practice, you know. It's
Yeah.
called, put your stuff in a music stand and stand up and gesture. I mean, that's one of the things I like too about is that I use a music stand with all my work, so that it leaves me room to gesture and move, and you know, I try I try to work that in with every piece I do.
Brilliant. No, I agree. Same for me as well. I do love using a good stand myself and everything you do. I think if you've got a good stand in front of you, so I've fronted bands before now. If you've got a stand in front of you, your lyrics, and you can, so I can't remember stuff because I'm too dyspraxic, but it helps you do the projection and get everything across perfect. No, agreed, mate.
Yes.
Okay. I know you've been on another note, probably going to your book shortly. You were a writer in residence, weren't you, at the Northern Carolina Centre for the Arts and Humanities at Weymouth? Tell us about this experience next, then, please.
The Weymouth Center is a old plantation house,
Hmm.
and it is well maintained. It's a beautiful building, and people who are writers can come and spend a week or two or several times a year. I've only spent a week at a go. I did it 3 times, 3 years in a row, and it's a beautiful building. And it's one of those things where it's sort of a retreat. I mean, you're going to run into other writers while you're there because they're in residence at the same time you're there. However, everybody's kind of says hello and maybe has a meal with each other, but generally everybody's writing. Everybody's in their room. They brought their computer or their laptop or whatever, and it's a concentrated writing experience, and I have appreciated it. In fact, the third time I went, it was snowing, which is rare in North Carolina, and I got this tremendous incentive. I knew I was driving down there, and I hadn't even arrived yet, and I was driving down there, and I passed by an old chimney with no house attached, because obviously the house was gone. And I turned around and went back, and I got this incentive, sudden inspiration for the forthcoming book, The Tavern on Old Log Cabin Road. And I proceeded to do the work. The Tavern on Old Log Cabin Road is hopefully will be forthcoming this year. It's rather long. It's narrative poetry about a family who owns a tavern in North Carolina. It spans from 1777 to 2019. And it's chronological in the way of the stories that are relayed through the narrative poetry, um, are the stories that the family tells around the table after the kids have gotten up from the holiday table, and about the members of the family whose exploits and abilities need to be remembered. and so it goes from 70 to 77. The next one is 1780, and then I think the next one is 1803, and it just kind of jumps through time in that way. So in some sense, it is chronological, but it's not a day by day sort of thing. And I'm really had a great time writing this thing. And so if people in your audience and your country really want to know something about how America develops, this would be a good book for them.
Brilliant. Well, we'll come on to that shortly then, because and I'll definitely look forward to hearing more about that. 'Cause I've got note. You've been telling me a bit about that already, and I've got some notes. It sounds a fascinating book indeed, mate. So, okay. You've also been you're editing, aren't you? And I've mispronounced this, I think, completely. Is it Mastacosis in Canada? So, and I know you've
Well,
been involved in this project for a while, haven't you?
yes, a year now, and it's Mascadoras, Canada.
Okay.
It's
Apologies.
Spanish.
My Spanish is crap.
It, it, it's Spanish for chewing,
All right. All
and
right.
yeah, Mascadoras. But the Mascadoras group is an international poetry group that publishes poetry all over the world. I'm one of 22 editors, and
Wow.
I'm really grateful for the opportunity. One Ray Cirillo is our chief editor. He's in Barcelona. I'm in regular communication with him, and we're both very good friends through Google Translate. And but we've just in Mascadoras, Canada, we have just completed a thematic call all the month of August. We're publishing poetry about women, and the women thematic is broken into the archetypes
Hmm.
associated with women, and they're both men and women that have submitted to this. And I was very grateful for the 52 poets, artists, storytellers, and photographers that submitted to this thematic call. And they were from everywhere, from all over the world.
Oh,
I was
that's
so
brilliant.
pleased. I think I've published some really fine work from all over. And that's what we have just come through doing with Mascadoras Canada. But I've been the editor there for a year now. And it's been a real enriching experience and to getting to know people like yourself and from all over. I'm just so appreciative and grateful for that opportunity.
I think you do when you get big opportunities like that. You think really of what I've done like a spoken label. I've covered pretty well all four corners of the world in 10 years. And you do when you get to meet so many different writers. It is a life-changing experience, no matter how long
Yes,
you do the project for. So, no, fair play, man. No, fantastic. Now,
yes,
another big thing that must have been an impact on you was when you were a delegate to the 24 and 25 Writers International Panorama Festival. Now, there's a lot I could ask you about this, but first of all, then, how did you get involved in this festival?
well, it's out of Athens, Greece, and as I touched on a little while ago, my intention is to be a global presence and to address the human experience worldwide. And part of that was doing research on how to do that. And one of the things I came up with was I found was this festival, and it's out of Athens, Greece, and the they ask you for to read a poem, to do a video, to read a poem that you have written, and then they show all of these videos for a month. I mean,
Wow.
it was I think there was about 85 countries poets presented and over 200 people. Um, so I was very fortunate. I was very like, oh God, no, I'm going to be doing this and I'm going to be in front of a lot of people, and so I better make it really good. And I was very focused on the performance of it. And in 24, I wrote a piece about a woman in Iraq trying to recover from Al Qaeda, and it was very well received. And then last year, I wrote a poem which I'd like to read today called Three Waterfalls. and it's rather lengthy, and it's a lot of nature in there. But I've appreciated that experience. There's a fee involved. It's not a huge fee, but the exposure and the opportunity to listen to all these other people, see all these people perform their work, is an education in and of itself. It really is,
Yes.
and I'm delighted and grateful to be a part.
Brilliant. No, I agree with you. Everything you do like is the experience side of it, and you learn something from it. No, I agree completely with that. You've also done you're a moderator, aren't you, for Michael Lee Johnson's
Yes.
Facebook. I'm gonna get this right now. I'm not sure pronounce this rightly. My Voice, Your Words, Poetry in Action page. Tell us a bit about how you got
Yeah.
involved in this project next then.
I appreciated Michael Lee Johnson's outreach to poets of the world. And it all ties into the global approach that I'm trying to be a part of. And Michael E. Johnson is quite the poet. He's been published all over the world and writes very, very clever work. And at least in my opinion, it's very clever work. And I sent him. He was in a terrible car accident, and he was in a hospital for a while. And I sent him. Um, I sent him the book that you mentioned earlier, the For the Lost and Loved, while he was in hospital, and we developed a friendship out of that. And he approached me and invited me to be a moderator for his page, one of his. He's got like 5 or 6 pages on Facebook.
Oh God. Wow.
and and I'm moderator for one of them, and the poets uh, that are submitting to the page and doing work for the page and being a part of all of it are from everywhere. I mean, they're from all over the world. And again, that global approach, all of this somehow weaves itself into an experience that I'm very happy to be a participant with. He's a
Oh
great
yeah.
guy. He's a really, really nice guy.
No, you do. You think when you do projects like that, you've got to have something, you've got to have a mutual connection with them. And we talked about that with over David obviously before, and obviously how we met last year, I think it was now. You've got to have
Yeah.
that link, you've got to have that link with people, 'cause otherwise you're not going to do the project for them. So, and like if people can see from your background here, you do a lot of stuff anyway. And it's like we've barely touched on the surface of it yet. So completely so. Now, obviously, like I said before, we met. I reckon it was. I'm sure it was last year. And the first time I read for David's spoken word online, and I know,
Yeah.
yeah, sure it was last year we met because I've read their TED Talk on there twice now, and I know you do both readings online and in person. We've both talked about this already. Do you find your approach changes in both settings?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm much more personable in person.
I
But
think
on
we'd
Zoom,
have a great time when we met if we ever met, Matt. I know for a fact we would.
yeah, to be in an open mic like downtown here in Colorado Springs, um, I get to move. You
You,
don't
you get to get
when
the
you're
groove, do you? You get the
you
groove, do
get to,
you?
get to move with things. As I mentioned, I use a music stand because I don't trust my memory like you probably trust yours, and I use a
I
music
don't.
stand so I can
I
move
don't.
about. You know, so on the Zoom platform, your reach is far more broad, right? I mean, you can be in a Zoom with somebody in another country just like we are right now, or people in a Zoom that are from many other countries, like Prasanna Kumar's The Fertile Brains, which I try to participate with. He's out of India, and there might be people from 15 different countries on his. So the opportunity to look at somebody from Bangladesh who's reading a piece, or look at somebody from the UK who's reading a piece, or from somebody from Italy, somebody from the United States, it's just unparalleled. When I was in college, I would have never thought that the Zoom platform would have ever developed. And it was like there was much. We broadened our experience had the opportunity to watch someone in the UK present. We have the opportunity to present to someone in Italy. You know, it's a, or Greece or you know, who knew YouTube was going to be so popular?
You don't
You know,
solve
what a
anything.
phenomenon that's become.
And I think it's the one good thing that's come off lockdown, to be honest, yeah. And certainly in England, obviously worldwide, didn't it? When COVID hit us, I think it's
Yeah,
great thing with Zoom is it's brought the world together in some ways in a
yeah,
different way. Because obviously, in my case, certainly before this, I had some non-English writers on the spoken label, not the level I've got now, and it's been great and an absolutely fantastic last 5 years, experience-wise.
yeah. You're a very busy man with all this. You really are.
Sleep is optional. Let's leave it at that, mate. Yeah, I know it's
Uh,
true. I've actually, like I said, I love going on to nights like the spoken word online and the other ones I do. We've talked about Block from the Blue and obviously run by the wonderful Finn Hall. And then like we've also
yeah.
got Clive Osmond, Nick Lovell's night or Beehive as well. And there's other ones as well. Yeah, you do it.
Yes.
It's great. I love doing them. So, and I think and that's what I'm interested in of you next, actually, is certainly since I got into all these on fast 5, 6 years, my writing is amplified. I'm bringing out more books now, even though they're all self-published, because of what I'm doing much quicker than I used to do before. And have
Ah,
you found that? Has it made you more prolific since you're getting involved in all this?
I think yes. The short answer is yes. The long answer is that if you have a if you have that desire coupled with intention, that's a powerful combination.
Yeah,
And if you have that desire and the intent, you can produce. And it's actually a fairly advanced context, but it's remarkable in what comes forward from it. And the short answer being yes, I have found that I'm very I'm very good with my Apple computer. I'm a very big fan of Apple computer. I'm on an Apple computer now, and
right.
so I'm eloquent with it. And I work with putting together these pieces, and I will. I mean, I know writers that when they get ready to put a book together, they lay all their poetry out on the floor, and they grab one and grab one from here, there, and finally come up with some sort of order, and their book shows up with. But in my case, what I do is I have all the files from all the years, and they're sort of cataloged, you know, numbered, and that's how I look at titles and I get a feel for what it is that I need to put here in this particular order, and then I'll pull it from those files. And like I said, I love my Apple computer, and I work with it very closely in that manner. But
Really.
yes, it really does make you. If you have that desire with the intention, it really makes everything go well.
Yeah, no, agreed. Agreed with you completely what it does. It's now I said 40. I've already gone through brief off camera with you today about your collection of books. I've read bits of all these, so not all of one. So we're gonna go through it and you tell people what we can look at the wide range of your work. And it's you've jumped around a lot of different directions of your work, and I think it's fantastic. This, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you've got lined up next, which we'll come on to in shortly. Now. The first book yours is Acknowledgement, Poems from the Nam, which was a two-volume set in 2019. And Nam, obviously, people wonder is Vietnam. So where did this book come from originally? Why did you decide to do this as your first book?
I have a very generous listening for the American military. I'm born and raised within that warrior culture.
Mm,
My father was a career officer in the United States Air Force, so my generous listening for the American military stems from that. The other part that I felt needed to be addressed and was a terrible, terrible grievance in my country was the lack of acknowledgement for the men and women that went to war in Vietnam. Now, whether you agreed with the context of the war, that's not what this book's about. This book's about the heroism demonstrated by these people that, you know, they're soldiers and they're nurses and they're pilots and they're all the different jobs that need to be done within the military. And so what I did was I interviewed 16 Vietnam veterans, and I asked them for a story from their war that hadn't been told and needed to be told. That's what I asked for, and so all of that came from that, and it ended up with like 280 pages, which
Wow.
is way too long for a poetry book.
Yeah.
And the first edition was all of it in one book, and then I realized some things about production, and so I split it into two books. And the first book is the first 6 months somebody's in country, and the second book is the last 6 months because it was a year tour in the war. So I have a broad range in that, and that's where all that came from. That's why the title, Acknowledgement.
Brilliant. Yeah. Was it quite a long book to write this end, was it? Obviously, we've been 280 pages or so.
Well, I found that my naivety at the time was that it all needed to be in one volume. And what I found out was that most poetry books are far less
Yeah.
pages than that.
Oh, they
So
are. Yeah, I've not even come. That's about. I'm an expert at doing books like 60, 70 pages.
yeah,
I've done 90 twice, but no, yeah, you're right. They're a lot less normally.
yeah. So that's why it's a two-volume set, and it's sold as a two-volume set.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes sense completely with it. So now, obviously, yes, the collection after that was and it's another big interest of yours, and I've seen bits of workers online as well. Your love for photography merged together with your poetry when you did a book in 2020 called 2318. Now, tell us about
Yeah.
why you wanted to do this as a multi multi-genre platform, really.
Well, the title is 23, comma 18.
Oh, God, I missed
There's
the camera off. Sorry.
yeah,
Sorry, mate.
20, and 23 is the number associated with the letter W, and 18 is the number associated with the letter R, which is to say Ray Whittaker. And it's rather an unimaginative title, actually, but there's a bit of numerology explanation in the preface of the book. But I wanted to put poetry out there that was more modern poetry rather than based on war experience. And I've been an amateur photographer for years. I have a nice camera,
Nice.
not the most newest, nicest camera, but it's a nice one. I use Olympus equipment, and so I published 14 photographs in color in this book. So it's that's really the explanation why 2318.
No, perfect. No, it's fair play with that. Now, you didn't, literally, this just shows you how busy you were, really. If you came along the year after and did one called for the love and, I guess, right, the lost and the loved, which I know you've already about poetry about loss and all of its forms. Now, this one was an anthology as well, others work on it as well. So, I know, although you did tell me this is probably more your work than theirs, but
Yeah, yeah. I invited three other poets that were well respected writers and poets. One's more of a storyteller than a poet. However, so there's four of us in this book: two men, two women, and the powerful work is that's in there. The book is all about loss, and it's many different forms. It's not just about the loss of a family member or a wife or a husband, but it's you might have lost your job, you might have lost your pet, you might have lost there's a broad range of you can consider of loss. So it's kind of specific, this book, about loss, and it's universal in regard that we all experience loss if we live long enough, and so I'm very pleased with this book. I feel like it's done very well in covering the ground.
sounds like it. It does. What I've read of this book, certainly read about it, yeah. And I think working with anthology with people sometimes, if there's just four of you doing it, it's great because it gives differing voices sometimes in a book like that. And for
Yeah.
looking at it from four different angles of such a topic like that, yeah, it's a winner. straight away in mind of it. So straight away with that. Now, on to 2022, you notice we're doing really well in quite a chronological pattern here. And I love this next story because was was a bookshop in North Carolina that he
Yes.
wrote poems in. I think it's a great story, this. Now, I'm not going to make a fool of myself with the title of this bookshop, so I will apologize in advance. But tell us the title of this next book, Ray, and obviously how you found out about this bookshop and why this happened.
Uh, the book is called The Scuppernong Works, and the bookstore is named the Scuppernong Bookstore. Um, it's a chapbook, really. It's not a full length book, and it's I had dropped my wife off for court duty. She had jury duty down the street, a couple blocks over, and so I was wandering around downtown, and the bookstore was unopened. It was not open for the day, and I had just finished acknowledgement. And so I was standing there at the bookstore with my nose pressed up against the glass, looking in to see if there was anyone at all there. The owner of the bookshop came and opened the front door. We had this great conversation. Brian's a wonderful fellow, and he invited me in, even though the store was not open, and told me a little bit about uh, getting out there. Getting out there. So because I was unknown at the time, and I guess I'm still working on that part. But it was a wonderful thing, and so part of this bookstore it's long and it's got a bazillion books in it and a coffee bar on one side, and the front of the store used to be some other appliance store or something, and so the front of the store is all glassed in, and there's a sitting area where people can sit and write or read or have a conversation, or anyway, you're out there and you're facing the street. So that's where all these poems were written, right there in that glassed in area. So lovely
Fantastic.
store, lovely people that run the store. Can't praise them high enough.
Fantastic. And I think you do. I think it's when you're in that sort of really good environment, and because I've been in a place like that before, you just feel, don't you? It brings the writer out, and you've done it sometimes in a different way.
I I like the store in many many ways, and I've read there several times, probably 15 times over the years I lived in North Carolina, and I think that this chapbook that I put out is 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 perhaps not the best work I've ever done, but it's a good representation of the store and the way things go there. But it's a true chapbook. It's not a full length book.
No, I get it. No, it's fair play. No, fantastic, mate. Indeed. So sometimes chatbooks are great because the snapshots. You don't have, and not every collection you do has to be like 100 pages. Sometimes a 30-page one can tell as much as a 100-page one. And agree with you completely with that. Now, you're telling me a little bit before, and also a little bit off mic as well, about your music you've done with a live jazz band. And this has led to another book, hasn't it? Of the impromptu of love of music. And you're
Yes.
looking at all the different shades of love. This is actually tremendous, this. So I want to tell people say it there now. The story you told me before, and I thought to myself, this is brilliant. So I want you to tell people, first of all, how you got involved with this jazz band you work with on occasion,
Well,
and what you do with them.
have a rich musical history, and I have taken the. I love to go to live music, and particularly now that I'm older, I'm enjoying small ensemble jazz quite a bit. I mean, I've got a volume of music at library, but to see it live is really interesting. And so I had an opportunity to go into a small bar here in Colorado Springs, and I just kind of brazenly introduced myself to the band leader, who's a saxophonist, Ricky Schum. This guy's an amazing talent. And I asked him, did you guys ever do multimedia stuff with your music? And he said, oh, when I was living in New York, we did this and we did that. And we had an artist that painted in the back and people. And I said, well, I write. And do you ever have a poet work with you? And he said, only once. And it went really well. So that is how it evolved. And so what I do in the book, it's got several pieces where I show up and I'm introduced to the audience in the bar. However many there are, there might be 50, it might be 100. Small venue, in other words, and they Ricky tells them what I'm going to do, and at that point I get 8 to 10 words from the audience to put in this poem that I am going to write at that time. I don't show up with it having pre-written, and so I'm sitting down there with my iPad. Remember, I'm an Apple guy, and I'm typing all this stuff as we go, and I write like crazy, just whatever comes out. And generally, at the intermission between the first and second set, um, they'll call me up at the beginning of the second set, and I will read this thing to the audience. I'll refresh their memory about the words they gave, and then I'll read the poem. So that's what's in the impromptu. That's what I have found to be a really clever way to go about um, writing. And fortunately enough, the stuff I have written is actually enjoyable. Now, it's not Wordsworth. it, it, it,
Brilliant.
it, it's not Shakespeare. It's not Wordsworth, but it's rather enjoyable, and the people that are in the audience seem to really appreciate it.
I think it's brilliant now because I know people do that because we've got a club in Manchester and where I live, they called Matt and Fred's. I know people do that. They'll go and do an improv with a jazz band. I think as a writer, you've got to have that sort of mindset to go and do that. And do you find then when you're doing that sometimes you're learning something about yourself as a writer every time you do it, don't you? Because you'll be given prompts by the audience. You've got to then sit down and write something bloody quick as well, haven't
Yeah.
you?
Well, I've been lucky in the regard that the gray matter works pretty good here, and I'm hardly at a loss for words. Sometimes at a loss for good metaphor, but hardly at a loss for words. So um, I've been in a writing course for several years now, and it's not like step A, step B, step C. The writing course is here's the prompt, write, don't talk, don't stop the pencil, just make it go. And I've actually had 8 or 10 pieces that I've published in various journals that came forward out of that writing class. So that the exercise
Fantastic.
of, of writing, just making it go, put the words down on the page, or in this case, the iPad, um, is really useful. And I have so much that I'm grateful for, but that's certainly one of it, one
Oh,
piece of it.
God, yeah. Yes, it's brilliant. That's brilliant because you're really working hard for that. Even though it's quick writing, you're not brilliant, mate, indeed. Now, when did you decide to bring this out as a book then? Was this always going to be a book right from the beginning, was it?
No, it was never going to be a book right from the beginning.
Ah, right.
It was just something that decided that these are not too bad. They go along very well. And then I coupled it with poetry about all the facets of love. The bad, the good, the happy, the sad. All of that stuff. And so I think there's a lot of good writing in this book, but it's not all impromptu. There's a section in the book that shows all of the band and me
Brilliant.
reading and this.
Yeah. People are
So
wondering now, we better make clear, because obviously, Ray, we're looking at this from the video perspective. People obviously that are on the audio side who will see there. You bet you just show me images of the band there, and it looks tremendous, that does.
yeah, it's a clever idea, and it just came to me one day. I didn't even I never intended to put it all in a book, but um, it was that desire and intention thing again to get work out there, and so it seemed logical to do it.
Yeah, no, agreed. Agreed with you completely with that one, mate. So does it's a great idea. And I think it's a great idea for a book as well, with that straight away. So your current book that's out at the minute, and you've hinted already there's another one, at least another one on the way. Animals. Now, this obviously is quite a different sort of beast to your last couple of books and straight away. So tell us about
Yeah,
the context and the metaphors and the reason why this is out now.
this is the cover, and
Brilliant.
I just went back and forth on the cover about what am I going to put on this thing, and I decided I'd put a picture of one of my pictures that had no animals in it as the cover. But the book is entitled Animals because I use animals as characters and as metaphor in each and every piece in the book.
Yeah,
So it's not about, well, the tail is this long on a mountain lion, or the paw prints are
brilliant.
looking like this. You know, it's not like an anatomical description of any in any way. It's about the animals as metaphors. I will have some three pieces from to read from the book here today. Perhaps you get a better idea about things. But um, it's a lovely pieces in here, and many of these pieces have been read in public and well received. And many of these pieces have been published in various literary journals around the world.
Brilliant.
15,
Brilliant.
15 different pieces have been published. I think it's 15. Yeah, I think so.
No, no, brilliant, man. No, brilliant, mate. No, no, great. It's a great, with different perspectives as well. Certainly, like, if you get good publications with you, like I said, you've got, say, 15 in that book. It gives that sort of weightiness, I think, to any good book. That's what I try to do a lot of my poetry books. Make sure there's good publications and everything you do with it straight away. So that's sort of, oh, God, there were loads of magazines and whatnot straight away. Now, that's covered obviously all your current books. I know, obviously, we've talked a little bit already about the Tavern on Old Log Cabin Road, which, like I said, that's incredible, this one, where it's a 240-year poetic journey, chronicling one family's life in rural North Carolina. Now, what I'm curious to know with this has this taken quite a while to get this book together then, with you jumping on hundreds of years?
Yeah, yeah. I started the book in 2020
Yeah, thought
and
so.
finished it in 2022. And because it's epic narrative poetry, which is in an unusual class, um, the first, I don't know, half a dozen submissions I made of the book in entirety were rejected.
Hmm.
So I've been through the rejection process more than I care
Okay.
to admit.
We
You
all
know,
we all do, right? So you get used to it.
yeah. So I am so delighted that a publisher has picked it up near Chicago, Illinois, United States, and I'm working with the publisher now. Just signed a contract, and very delighted about
Right.
that. It's exciting, this book, and not just for me having written it, but I think the people that have proofread it and read it, and there's a big love story in the middle, and there's the entrance to the book is a guy in deerskins who's in a snowstorm, and it carries on through. There's talk. There's a piece on a healer, a hands-on healer kind of guy. There's a musician in there. There's a guy got fresh out of the Civil War coming home to the tavern and his family. There's a guy fresh out of World War I coming home to the tavern and his people. But it's not all about veterans by any means. I mean, there's a lot about the first significant women in the United States, particularly in North Carolina, the first woman doctor, the first, it's just it's a bit about women's suffrage here in the United States. There's hippies in this book,
Of course,
from
of
the
course.
'70s, and there's and I'm giving everything away anyway. Toward the end, it's really exciting,
Yeah,
and
we won't give any more spoilers away then, okay? But we can definitely tell people when I get this book, it's gonna be a book where it's I think you do a project to this size, and it's happened in my first novel, probably second as well actually, is it's a life And when you do that sort of lengthy project like that, it
Yeah.
takes over your writing, even if you're not writing it all the time. And that's why it is such a fascinating book, this one, indeed. So, when's this book out yet? Have you got a release date for this one yet, Ray?
I do not have a release date, and I'm hoping it'll be this year. Um, like I said, I just signed a contract with the publisher, and I'm not clear about the timeline about when it'll be available.
Well, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed for you. Better sooner rather than later, mate. Definitely, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I'm working on toward. That's I think it's going to be such a novel book because it's epic narrative poetry
Yeah.
and it's long. It's going to be over 250 pages when it gets
Wow.
formatted, and it's going to be in the 6 by 9 size,
Oof.
and so it's going to expand it quite a bit because my manuscript was, of course, an 8 by 11.
Yeah, it will do, won't it? Oh, good grief. Yeah,
It was,
it's gonna be your biggest book then to date, isn't it?
yeah, I think it's going to be about 300 pages long
Wow. But
when it finished.
this is like your poetic novel then, really, isn't it? Almost, you could argue then.
I had such a good time writing it.
Oh, best way, mate. If I said to you,
It's like
you can tell that when you talk about it. Now you've buzzed on this book, as I would say straight away, mate.
this is the first year I put 2 books out, and
Yeah,
I'm really delighted. And my prayers are that the grateful factor that I feel every day continues to mushroom and grow.
brilliant. Brilliant. Do you think if you got is there a possibility of another book next year then, on top of this one that's forthcoming?
Yeah, I mean I got 2 unpublished manuscripts sitting over there in notebook form. I mean I've already printed the pages and everything out. I mean, yes, the answer is yes.
But we won't ask for much spoilers about what, in case obviously we want to keep people for no, we're just making people guess, I always say, definitely. So brilliant. Okay, wrap up part one then, mate. Where can people get hold of your works currently?
Well, there's 2 ways. One is through my personal nature. I send someone a signed autographed copy to wherever. And for example, Animals has gone to Spain and France and India personally. So that's just a matter of contacting me. And then the other one is all of my books are available on Amazon. And
Brilliant.
if your readers and watchers and viewers are interested in obtaining that, then go to Amazon and type in the search bar Ray Whittaker Poetry, and you will see all my books.
Brilliant. That sounds good to me. And how can people get hold of you on social media and where are they best going?
Uh, yeah, I'm on Facebook. I'm
Oh, yeah.
not on Instagram.
I didn't know that. I'll send you a Facebook ad now. I did not know that.
Uh, just look it up. I'm on Facebook. There's a Ray Whittaker that is not me, and then there's me. So
Right,
if you're looking on Facebook for my page,
found you.
and
There we are. I've got
you
you. I've got you.
find somebody that doesn't look like me, it isn't. It just isn't me.
I was just
So
sending you an ad. I found you. I found you straight away then. So I did not know that. So brilliant. Well, you're added mate of my side anyway. So great stuff. Right. Well, that's covered all my questions here, mate. So people wondering, we're going to take a quick break, let Ray get composed, and we will back in 2 minutes' time when you go do that, start doing your poetry fest. And it's been great, this mate. I've absolutely thoroughly enjoyed this. So thank you, mate.
thank you. I have too.
It's right, guys. See you all in 2 minutes' time.